Hello, and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sherry Ann.
So let's start with Pesh. Sherry Ann, will you go first?
I will. Okay. Physically, 7.9. Emotionally, 8.95. Spirit, 9. Hope, 9.4. And my word is new. Your
Okay.
turn.
Physically, I am a 7.25. Emotionally, I'm a 7. Spiritually, I'm a 6.5. And hope is an 8.5. And my word is blah. It's my word.
That's being real. And that's what we want.
Yep.
So thank you
So,
for bringing blah here.
well, I'm still showing up, regardless of how blah I feel.
Right. And I think that's kind of a good lead in or segue into the topic we were going to talk about today, which is cancer in the holidays.
hmm
So when I say that out loud, what comes up besides bleh?
I mean, large amounts of responsibility that come up around the holidays. I mean, I think for myself, it's not the responsibility of, like I have to see family and I have to get ready for this thing and I have to buy presents and stuff. I don't really feel that kind of responsibility pressure. I think that the responsibility I feel is around like wanting to just wrap things up and to create space and like I mean I love celebrating. I'm a big celebrate, treat yourself, like take a break, recharge kind of person. I do have a lot of like go 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 get stuff done energy, but a lot of that is so that I can have restful nothing periods. And I think that right now a lot of the responsibility is like I feel like I'm carrying like a really heavy bag and I'm like, okay, well I have to like take care of everything in this bag before I can do that, but I don't have any energy for it right now. So there's
Yeah.
this whole swirl.
Yeah. Well, what you just said is really like common in the cancer world, especially if the holidays are here while you're going through a treatment journey or treatment experience. It's like you don't have the energy. You
hmm
don't have the motivation. You don't have the wherewithal to like get it up for one more thing. It's like, can we just get through this?
hmm
And in one sense, I totally understand that, right? Because you're putting your energy where it needs to go. And yet there's this thing that we've been talking about, celebration, which is purposeful at the end of the year.
hmm
Um, who came up with it at the end of the year? It just is what it is. But then and I want to kind of look bigger than it's just holidays, which has a lot of have to's attached to
hmm
it, right? It's like tradition and just the whole, oh, it's the holidays, you got to do something,
hmm
where it's celebration, but celebration, if we go underneath that, it's like for a reason.
hmm
Thanksgiving, while it's, I don't want to go back to the Pilgrims and the Indians, but I do want to talk about for a moment just the whole gratitude and thankfulness and the gathering and the community, that if I really think of, what I want Thanksgiving to be about, and kind of what we were raised on, it was the coming together of the two different sides and breaking bread, having something in common. Let's share. That feels good. And if it isn't so onerous, with the responsibility of I need to make something happen in addition to everything else that's there, then Thanksgiving becomes more like how do we be in the space
Hmm.
of thankfulness, gratitude, community,
Yeah.
connection?
Yeah. What's coming up for me right now, right? Because you place me in the space of being in um the heart and mind of someone who's going through a cancer treatment. And while I completely agree about everything Thanksgiving, I think that from the perspective of a cancer person, that's like, like, like that feels like kind of icky and terrifying because of the responsibility that comes with having to be around other people and other people being like, how are you? How are you?
Right.
And needing to show up for that and needing to, like, especially in communities that don't understand having a serious illness or having cancer, um you're the one who has to, like, you're their entree into it.
Hmm.
And most people, I really think most people, we're not built with the um trailblazing, change the conversation perspective, like reinvent what it means to have cancer around people who don't know what it's like to have it in their lives, who are just like, oh, how are you? How are you? Like they have to pause everything to constantly check on you, and you're
Right.
like, if I needed help, don't you think I would ask? And so the weight of reclaiming what this community expects or how they want to tiptoe around you, I think is actually much more challenging than the, like, event itself of Thanksgiving, and showing up there and showing up and having to almost like retrain the general public about what it means to approach this. And so, but and taking your community and the focus on that, it's how do we set up our communities, those that understand us and that those that don't understand us, to be prepared for what we have to bring and what lack of energy that we have in that moment to, like, educate everyone about it. And how do
Right.
we make that community safe for us to begin with, rather than dreading showing up to Thanksgiving dinner with your family, having to explain to them what every single bit of your treatment is, or even having to explain, like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, that's not what
Right.
I
Or
about.
explaining is what I'm really hearing you say. I mean, you use the phrase showing up so many times, and you are absolutely right. I mean, even now, it's like even without being on an active cancer journey, and you just not doing that either, but living life, it's like it's enough to just show up
Mhm.
and then to have this added pressure. So it's one, just showing up, period. Just showing up. And then two, it's like, how do I want to show up if I am on a cancer journey? How do I want to show up and not have that pity look or have to do extra work, like lift up the room because everybody else is like, oh, how are you doing? Or having to educate.
Yeah,
It's
because that's
like,
exhausting.
wow, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So what comes up for me is, what if you don't? What if you don't do any of that?
Mhm. Yeah.
What would that be like?
It's a good question. Um, I have deliberative at number two. So the need for myself personally, and if I'm in a space where I don't really want to, approach a subject with people, I will tell them ahead of time so that when we land at that point, um, I don't have to do that. And I
Mm,
know that's my own preference, is to kind of be like, okay, everyone, before we get to the day, let's just get on the same page. I don't really want to talk about it. It is my reality, so it doesn't need to be something scary and heavy. Um, but I could also see on the flip side people wanting that. And they just, saying like, I don't really want to talk about it, but I just want to be held. So, like, let's just, like, have long hugs and get to really lean into each other kind of hugs, not the just like, oh, good to see you. They're really just like, you kind of rest into each
right?
other kind of hugs and get to ask for that. And now as I say that, oh my god, do I want that?
I saw it as you were saying it. You were stepping into it, and that in itself is so healing.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
what you were saying is, I need to I need to let people know what I want, but it's also designing the relationship. I mean, a really strong tool that we teach and utilize at CJI. It is not just for the workplace or not just for, treatment place or the the personal relationship, meaning, like your partner or your family or your kids. But it's like, can I just do this
Mhm.
and really respect myself so that I can ask for what I want? And then there's no guessing. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, how cool is that? I'm going to go have, a gathering and just letting the people know that I know.
Mhm.
You might be going to a gathering, you don't know everybody, but the people that you do know, it's like, this is where I am, and this is really what I really want. Can we do this for each other? Can you do this for me? And I would love to know what you would want,
Mhm.
regardless of the fact that you're not on a cancer journey, but you have wants too. Like, how gorgeous is that?
Yeah, yeah. And so this to me is saying even more than just cancer in the holidays. It's like, how do we want to operate the holidays better, period, for ourselves with and without cancer? Because, you don't need to have cancer to ask for what you want. I think that's a very important point. You can always ask for what you want. You do not
So
need to wait
true.
until cancer is in the picture. Um, and I think that holds us back so much, right? The shoulds that come up, and in our most recent newsletter, a lot of the conversation that's being had in the beginning part of the message is that there's so much expectation of how we're supposed to show up and to have these celebrations, right? Which we love celebrating here at the Cancer Journey Institute. We talk about that a lot, especially with the holidays coming up. But what I'm realizing too, as we're going through the newsletter, and um Sherry Ann presents all these ideas and I go through them, so we're both there in the same place. But there's such an environmental and like influence from the world around us that we need to keep moving, and that we don't have time to celebrate or we don't have time to pause. And it's just that desire to not pause, right? And that to keep going, and that forcefulness of like we're not allowed to. But it's something that like I crave so deeply, and to crave a celebration that's not just about other people, but how I want to be in tune with that community, and how I want to pause everyone with me and just like have
Yes.
that appreciation for the moment. Because
Yes.
yeah, things will keep moving. Time will always keep moving. That is just a matter of fact. Um, and it's up to us to find the pauses that matter to us, to focus on the things that matter to us with the people who matter to us, and literally not just because you have to, right? Like if there's family members that you are not super tuned in with, you get to make the choice of how you want to interact with them. You don't have to embrace them the same way with that you do with family members who you do completely resonate with. And so I think that's also where that gets tricky around the holidays for people. It's like there are people who are I'm supposed to love and want to spend time with because they're my family, but I don't want to. That's so
You
okay.
notice how you say
So,
that so quietly because it's like almost taboo, right?
yeah, it
To
feels
say
like
that.
wrong to say that. And it's
Yeah,
not. And it really shouldn't be so. I mean, I feel like I shouldn't have to feel like I even have to whisper it. And I'm like saying this loudly um into, the world, that you don't have to spend time with people even though they're your family. You don't have
right,
to force yourself to embrace them because you should. And
right,
you get to make that choice too, especially around the holidays, where is that extra expectation to
right.
be with them.
The extra showing up, the extra performing or pleasing other people, those P words. I want to come back to something that you said too, is it's the pause. So there were two things that came up while you were talking. It's like, yes, the pause, And a way of getting the pause, I mean, an important pause is asking the question that you just said is, what do you want? I
Hmm.
mean, if you ask anybody that question, they pause because we don't have on the tip of our tongue always this is what I want. It's like that's, well, in the cancer world and at CJI, that is the most powerful question.
Hmm.
But when you ask that, it makes everyone pause.
Yeah.
And to ask that question here, while somebody's on a cancer journey or not, during the holidays, being really raw and real and saying, what do you want?
Yeah.
The permission and the freedom, my shoulders just like sank 2 inches to just have that permission to go, what do I want?
Hmm. Yeah.
It's a gift in itself. Like, I don't have to give a gift and go to the store and buy that. If I could ask somebody what they want with clear intention of honoring what their heart's desire is. Wow, that feels really good.
Yeah.
And so less onerous and so less responsible and so less have to.
Hmm. Less efforting is really what I'm hearing, and it's I'm equating it to, when it's Christmas and you're like, I have to buy everyone a gift. Which, by the way, like, creating your list, all your family and all your friends, and I don't know how, like, I think secretly, even if people don't want to admit it, it is very, very overwhelming. And even if you don't have a long list, isn't that just as overwhelming? Um, but to have to, like, individually, especially if you don't have deep connections with each of these people, which is fine, you're not going to have deep connections with absolutely everyone, but it's like, oh, but you know them. Like, apparently you know them enough to get them a gift, and then you get really bad gifts for people you don't know very well. And you know what? They give you a bad gift too. And every time Christmas comes around, I'm like, why do we even do this? Just give me a crisp $5 bill sometimes, Like, and you know what? I'll give one back to you. And so it's just like an even exchange. It doesn't need to be like, sometimes you just get the silliest gifts, and it's like, I appreciate it. I know I was on your list, but you know what I appreciate more is just like a really good hug. Like, I honestly would take a really good hug from someone I'm not really tuned in with. Actually, that would get me closer to them. And it would truly be more of a gift for a relationship, because every relationship is just, it's two people. You can't expect your relationship with your mom to then influence your relationship with your aunt necessarily. It's like you and your aunt. If you don't get each other, you don't get each other. And I do think a really good hug could definitely help that connection much more than getting me a pair of socks, you
Right,
know? Um,
right, right,
but there's just so many have tos with that.
right,
And it becomes so overwhelming. So, like, what if we like took that out of the picture altogether?
right.
Yeah.
And that the holidays were more about connecting and love, true
Mhm.
love, authentic love, where I get to say, this is my gift to you, and be totally okay with that. Holding their hands or not even touching them because some people,
Mhm.
get extra sensitive. And that's okay. But saying, what do you want? How can I experience something with you?
Mhm.
And it could be, that crisp $5 bill that we take down the street and we go get a cup of coffee and we sit there and we don't even have to talk. I love the idea of just sitting and reading a book or reading a really good article or watching a video. Those make me happy with somebody next to me, who physically has my back, but also just metaphorically is there reminding me that nobody's alone.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm also thinking too is, perhaps this is too much of a recommendation, but I think that for people who, like, they don't at all have that connection, right? Like, I could see myself in, like, maybe a somewhat distant uncle. Like, we're not going to have that relationship where I'm like, let's go to a coffee shop and sit together, right? But I think that for people who are coming together in a big family, in a big group, that when they do something like a white elephant kind of like game, those are
Right.
that's like a really great solution in my opinion, because then, especially if you all agree to a price point on what that gift is going to be, everyone just is bring one gift. I think the joy and excitement of this game, especially for like, let's just make all the presents silly, like spend $20 and just bring something silly and like wrap it up like in silly wrapping paper or something, is so much more enjoyable than everyone collecting all their gifts and sitting in their corner of whoever's house we're all at and opening like 7 pairs of socks because no one knows each other well enough. it's, it's so odd. And look, for the kids, maybe you give the kids their own gifts individually, but like even if you only had to get one gift for the general group of everyone and then cute little knickknack things for like the kids if you want to, that's just so much more enjoyable. Like, let's play a game together. Let's have an experience together where it's
Right.
not focused on having the experience. We just get to enjoy whatever silliness comes up.
Right. So I know we don't normally give, advice or recommendations, but in this particular podcast, it feels good to kind of just shake the container
Mhm,
of holidays
mhm,
and see the possibilities of what's there.
mhm,
And having the pause, because there might be some people who are like, I don't want to play the game, but I want to be in the group laughing and experience it.
mhm.
And I know you're a game person, and so am I. So I just love the energy of, not, a little competition, it's that fun and play that isn't in our lives enough. And I would bet real money on this, that if a cancer individual goes to some type of gathering and there was fun and games, just laughter and humor,
Mhm.
that in itself is a huge gift. And
Yeah.
if we don't have to physically bring a gift, or if we could, you can have everyone bring baked goods, or something that's
Mhm.
not so um, money folk, like you have
Yeah.
to spend a lot of money. It's more like, let's I love the theme because it makes it easier for people. But even if you didn't bring anything and you just brought a joke or a story, I mean, story sharing, how
Mhm.
lovely is that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I do think like that, I mean, we're such a game family, so like I also am just it comes up naturally. But I also want to put just a little spotlight on people who are alone during the holidays. They don't have, their parents, or they're estranged from their larger family, or even maybe they don't have a lot of friends even, finding special ways to ask yourself, what do I want? What do I need in this moment? And maybe they have an aversion to the holidays. Maybe they have an aversion to
Yeah.
Christmas. Something bad happened. Um, then they can make the choice to not celebrate. Or they can say, you know what, well, I'm going to take advantage of the sales that are around Christmas and I'm just going to buy myself something really nice. Like I think there are little
There
ways.
you
Right, you can watch like a scary holiday movie, not holiday, sorry, like a scary like not Christmas, Halloween movie is what I'm trying to say. Like watch like The Predator or something and be like, this I'm anti-Halloween, no, I'm anti-Christmas. Oh my goodness. Just like mix up all your holidays like I am, and then it'll be
go.
fine. No,
Well,
but
again, see, underscoring this all is, let me bring, okay, so we brought back, we're talking about showing up, we talked about pausing, we're talking about what do you want, and now it feels like we're into the category and the theme of fun and play. It's like,
mhm,
come back and realize that it's a perspective, but it's also your choice
mhm,
to to celebrate in the way that makes sense for you. And it could be quietly having a really yummy hot cocoa and reading a book, or, playing and laughing. I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many venues. Again, we're going back into ideation and options, but it's really hard when we're talking about evoking
Mhm.
a feeling that we what we really want. And so I'm such a formy person. It's going to always come up with form. But if we go into the function, another concept that we use a lot in at CJI is like fun and play, humor, joy.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I personally think that by sharing both, what function we want and what forms could feel nice gives people so many more options because it's even harder when you don't have anything to go off of, right? It's like, well, what do you want? Big question. Most people immediately, I don't know. I don't know. And like all I use this uh example all the time, but it's like when someone asks what your favorite movie is, and then every single movie you've ever watched is out of your brain. And you're like, I've seen movies. Uh, they're there. So sometimes it's hard, right? When someone asks, like, what do you want? And which is why I think that deep breath, that pause always naturally comes because we need to really tune in to what we want. And it's like you said earlier, it's not on the tip of your tongue always. And so, like, taking time to explore that, taking like every day for a week could be a lot for some people to try to remember that. Like, what do I want? What do I want right now? Do I what do I want for breakfast? Do I want like a bagel or do I want a waffle? It can be really difficult to figure out what you want when you don't have options and you don't have examples, and especially during the holidays because there tends to be such this closed-minded, like, on Christmas you go to your family's house and you have dinner and you open presents and there's a tree, and there's such an image around that. But holidays in general and Christmas itself can be so much more than that. They can be really
Yes.
whatever you want them to be. And so when you redefine what holidays mean to you and what you really want them to feel like inside or, form or function, when you figure out what that is for you and no one else, and it can match what other people are doing, but when you know what that feels like to you, that feels really just satisfying. That's when you can start to embrace the holiday and have it serve you, not just be
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So if I mean, this is a long way to come back around, but if we turn it back here and not there, out there, which is what media and just the whole commercialism of the holidays is about, is out there, then we mess up.
Hmm.
We mess with ourselves. But if we come back and say, all right, it's Thanksgiving. What am I grateful for? What do I want? What do I want to be thankful for? And then for Christmas, which to me is always about giving,
Hmm.
it's like, well, what can I give to myself with full permission of no judgment of, oh, you always wanted that, but you really can't have that, or shame of, I can't possibly, I'm too embarrassed to say that I want a pair of, I don't know. Nothing comes to mind.
What came to mind for me were Crocs. Who knew? Who knew? Do I want Crocs? I don't know, but sometimes that prompting sometimes. But I think that's what we do as coaches too, is that we provide that prompt for people to then complete
Yes.
themselves.
Yes, that we just need. If we don't have a coach, you can always get a free session with CJI.
Mhm.
Maybe it's about the holidays. It's a great reason to gift that to yourself. And also, it's having somebody there for you to ask you the hard questions that you won't ask yourself.
Hmm. Yeah. Or
That's a
the
fabulous
swirling.
gift.
Yeah, that is a fabulous gift. Or it's a gift you can get someone else that you feel like is swirling. It's not it's not the same as saying you need to go to therapy. It's not the same at all, which is honestly one of the things I love about coaching. It's like saying this support is something that honestly it's just It's so necessary. And it's like, I want everyone to have that support. I would love to gift everyone coaching for the holidays, just to have a completely impartial party, listen to anything you need to say,
Yep.
and really hear you. I mean, it's one thing to say that, like, yeah, of course your coach is really going to hear you, but as you have that dialogue, that conversation, and as you continue coaching with them too, very quickly you'll see them reflect back to you like exactly what you're saying. And if something that you said, they didn't completely understand, you're obviously welcome to say, actually, no, it's not quite that. And they get to know you even better because you've
Right.
clarified exactly what you mean. It's never like a battle when you say no. It's always like, okay, and now I know you better because I know that
Right.
that was, it's not this, it's that.
Right.
Um, and so it's like
So
giving someone the gift of being heard, seen, and gotten, right?
I was just exactly what I was going to say. I mean, there's no better gift to yourself is to have someone there to validate your greatness, to validate what you do well, to validate who you are,
Mhm.
who's not invested, not like they don't want anything back. It is just true authenticity. And so I just want to say it here and make sure that it's really clear. It's like, please give yourself either the gift of coaching for the holidays. We will be there to provide the coach free as a gift from us, or gift it to somebody that you know as not a you need therapy, but I love you. And here is a gift that I think is going to help you just where you are right now, to see yourself more, to embrace yourself more, to fall in love with yourself more, and or to help you find the next step forward.
Mhm.
That's just for you.
Mhm.
So here's the gift from the Cancer Journey Institute to everybody watching this is we're going to gift you a free coaching session with one of our fabulous coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what's your takeaway, Sherry Ann?
Um, Gifting doesn't have to cost a thing. Celebration doesn't have to cost a thing. And that feels so right and so good. And so my word is generosity.
Mm,
How
yeah.
about you?
My takeaway is that holidays are a nicer way to say pause and pause to figure out what matters to you, because there's so many, assumed, ingrained what we're supposed to have to should be doing. Um and yet we get to reclaim what holiday means for us and what we really want out of it. And it's going to come around again next year. It'll keep coming around. And so we keep getting these opportunities for ourselves. So I kind of see holidays equating to opportunities to tune in deeper
Mm,
with what matters to each of us individually, because it's all going to be different. Um, and my word is really trust the pause. Like, just do it. Just take it.
Press the pause.
Trust the pause. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for joining us today. It's so fun to spend time unearthing what comes up when we have these topics together. So, um, leave us a comment and let us know what holidays mean to you. But we'll see you next week.
Yes. And remember, you're more powerful than you realize, and have a great week.